Dive in the deep end, it's time to defend your movie.
Hello, friends, and welcome to this week's episode of Defending Your Movie. I am your host, Jeremy Meyer. So today I'm sitting down with a new friend, Paresh Maharaj, who has his own podcast called the Busted Limes Podcast, so be sure to check that out, and we do talk about it in the show. But today we are here to talk about a movie that he suggested that has always been a movie on my to-watch list that I have just never gotten around to. I mean, this movie came out when I was in high school, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna see that movie. It looks really good. I hear it's really good, and I only just got around to seeing it now. But that movie is Thank You for Smoking, starring Aaron Eckhart and directed by Jason Reitman, who has gone on to make a ton of great movies. But, you know, it's always been one I've always heard it's really good. It's got a great ensemble cast. And, oh man, why did I wait so long to see this movie? Because it is really good. But Paresh, he has an interesting reason for liking this movie, because I didn't even find this out until in the middle of the episode. You can hear it. But he's actually a lawyer. And a movie like this that deals with people who just have to find a way to navigate their morality and talk their way through a situation, like, it gives him a very interesting perspective that I can only imagine, because I don't come from that business, that way of thinking. So, like, when he said that, it kind of blew my mind and put, like, a new perspective on this, even just having just watched it. But it's a really great movie. It's a lot of fun. I knew it'd be a movie that I would like. It seems like it'd be something that I would like, and judging by even just the cast and the caliber of, who made the film, I knew it'd be something I'd be interested in. But wow. This movie did kind of catch me a little off guard. It was a lot of fun. It was very funny, and, something I would watch many times over. So before we get into the show, let's get our plugs out of the way. Find us on social media at Twitter and Instagram at Defending Movie. Find our merch store at belowthecollar.com/defendingyourmovie, and you can find our new friend of the show shirt. I'm going to be uploading a new Guardians of the Galaxy themed shirt soon. Actually, by the time this recording is out, that shirt might actually be up. So, little Marvel themed shirt design. We also have some other movie designs. We have just the logo shirt. I'm going to be uploading some kind of alterations on the logo in the future. So I have some more ideas, and I'm always thinking of more. I'm always looking for more movie titles that I can kind of parody, because those are fun. I think people like those ones. But be sure to get the new friend of the show shirt. That way I can easily identify you in public. I can come up, give you a big old hug or a fist bump, depending on where we are in the stage of the pandemic at this point. And then also you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/defendingmovie. Still working on getting, like, a lot more content up there, but in the meantime, you can watch the editing videos for editing down the Snyder Cut down to a 3-hour movie, and still trying to figure out how to do a showing of that. Even though, I'm still also working on that edit. I need to watch it and make sure it's all good, and if I need to make any more changes. I'm also got one for Falcon and Winter Soldier, so eventually I will find a way. Basically, if you are a Patreon subscriber, you'll get a special invitation to see the stream. I just got to figure out how I can do that legally. But that was still working on that. But without further ado, let's get into this week's episode, where we're talking about Thank You for Smoking. Oh, I do also want to point out that there is some audio issues with this episode. We were trying to record this, and we had some really bad connection issues. I got the best version of the recording I can, and while there is some hitching in it, I do think it's fine. Like, you shouldn't have much of an issue with it. But we actually had like 3 separate recording backups, and unfortunately this was just the best one I could get. We just had bad connection that day. I'm not really sure what happened, but I apologize for that, but you should still be able to enjoy the episode just fine. So, all right, now without further ado, let's get to the episode. So yeah, I just want to thank you for hopping on my show here. This
No problem.
is our first time kind of meeting here, and reaching out through a Discord that we're both on, and kind of getting me to watch a movie that had always been something I wanted to see and just kind of never got around to seeing. And I don't know why that is, because it was always on my list of, hey, this is a movie that a lot of people say is good, and it never crossed my path. But now I'm glad I watched it because I really enjoyed this movie.
Good. That'll make defending it a lot easier.
Yeah. Like what? So, what is it about this movie that is just like the thing that kind of drew you into it?
Okay, so first of all, I don't know. Will you be giving a summary of the plot in the intro, or will I?
No, we'll assume people are familiar with the movie and just kind of like, we don't have to worry about spoilers or anything. Also, you can swear. I know that's a question people ask, but
Oh yeah. Oh, but
no, we'll just assume people know the movie.
Okay, so what it is about that drew me about this movie is, first off, that it's kind of what first drew me to it was the aesthetic, because I don't know what it is about this type of I don't know what you call it, the filter, I guess, like the lighting effect that it has. I also see it in Burn After Reading from the Coen brothers, but I just really like that style, like that.
It's definitely getting Burn After Reading vibes from this.
Yes, exactly. So that's what drew me to it at first, but as I kept watching it, it was well. First off, it's absolutely hilarious. Just so everything about Rob Lowe's character,
so funny.
Everything about Rob Lowe's character, everything about J.K. Simmons, who apparently was naturally quotable even back in 2006.
Yeah,
but this is one of the movies that I appreciate more watching it now as an adult, because when I first saw it, I was like in high school, so I was just kind of like, haha, look at this likable douchebag. But now growing up and seeing the year 2021 and seeing the advent of social media and all that, this movie strikes an even better and bigger, especially the scene where he's arguing ice cream flavors with his son. And because that whole conversation is just a distillation of every single Twitter troll argument that you see, well, on Twitter. Because especially at the very end, where the son is just like, but you didn't convince me that vanilla is better than chocolate. And Nick Naylor, Aaron Eckhart's character, he just explains, I didn't have to convince you, I have to convince them. And he points out the people who just around him at the time. And that is just the biting satire that I love. Like, that's just in general as a brand.
And you see that right in the beginning of the movie when he's on the talk show and like immediately gets everyone on his side, and he even like high fives the cancer kid. Like, he's just like, every character in this movie is a horrible person, and it kind of reminds me. I don't know if you saw that movie that just came out earlier this year, that I Care a Lot, the Rosamund Pike movie.
I have not, but I'll get to it.
It's really good, but it's another movie where like, yo, every character in here is not a good person, and like, we're gonna try to get you to root for them. And yeah, they're all bad people, but everybody's so charismatic and like entertaining that you're kind of like, yeah, I'm willing to go along for the ride with these guys.
Yeah, exactly. And especially Aaron Eckhart, because Aaron Eckhart has a huge has a tall order for this role. He's the lead, and he's literally peddling death sticks, cancer sticks, to lobby. Well, he's the lobbyist for the freaking cigarette company. So how do you? And that's the whole theme of the movie: is how do you do something like that and still be a good influence for your child?
And yeah, and there's the moment at the end even where he's like, oh, like, what about when your kid turns 18? Are you gonna like let him smoke cigarettes? And just him having to swallow his pride is like, oh, I'll buy him his first pack.
Right, exactly. And but then after that he jumped ship, and just in time research company to go under, and hey, he at least survives with his dignity intact, with the respect of his son, which I thought was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and like, if I had any kind of criticism of the movie, it would be like, oh, the end does just kind of like wrap up real quick. But like, I was wondering, like, throughout the entire run of the movie, is like, where is this going? Like, what is this all leading to? Like, it doesn't seem like it should be like, oh, he sees the error of his ways type thing, because that just doesn't really fit with what the story they're telling. And I was kind of, yeah, surprised to see the way it does just kind of wrap up, but not, it wasn't like an unsatisfying ending.
Exactly. And sorry, I dropped my notes here.
No, that's fine.
Okay, got it back. So, because you mentioned earlier that this is our first time meeting. Another reason that this struck a different chord for me is that I am a lawyer. So,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
Okay. That
So-
makes this a whole different kind of conversation.
Oh my goodness, yeah, because he even asks his kid, like, who wants to be lawyers, or who wants to be, I don't know, what does he say in the classroom again? It's not important.
Oh, I can't remember. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, honestly, that's why it's a big reason why I kind of relate to Naylor, because yeah, he's an advocate for a shitty cause, but, and I'm gonna keep repeating, I kept repeating this phrase throughout my notes, but here's the thing though, I'm a lawyer. I am gonna.
So what kind of law are you practicing?
I am going to die. I am going to die with so many regrets. But yeah, right now, most of my experience is in bankruptcy law, but right now I'm kind of branching out to general practice. So I'm handling mostly landlord, tenant, and probate.
Yeah. But yeah,
So,
I mean,
but yeah,
it's a career where a lot of people look at you as the enemy, and like
not even that, but the company he keeps with the gun guy and the drugs and alcohol. Then at the end,
they're great.
At the end, it's so hilarious because then he's joined by the fast food, the oil company, and some other third one. I can't remember off the top of my head. And it's just the conversations that those three have are just such comedic gold. Like especially the part where he's talking to them about the journalist played by Katie Holmes.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's just like, oh, you didn't say anything to a journalist with did you? He's like, no, just maybe something in passing. You fucked her, didn't you? When?
Yeah.
In passing.
Yeah. Like, oh, David Koechner is just so much fun. Like this, which brings up this whole cast is phenomenal. And like,
just stacked.
I didn't realize, like, when I started the movie, I'm watching the credits. I'm like, yeah, Aaron Eckhart, okay. I'm like, oh, Katie Holmes, I didn't know she was in this. Like, oh, William H. Macy, David Koechner, J.K. Sitt, like, Rob Lowe, what the fuck? Like, it just kept coming.
And then Sam Elliott.
Elliott. He's great. And, like, even, like people on the lower, and, like, Adam Brody is like, oh, he's really, that whole scene where Adam Brody's leading him into the office and just, like, masturbating about how good the building is, basically.
He almost stole the whole movie because everything from that gross inside joke that he has with friend to
that's the best.
Coffee or vodka or maybe a Red Bull.
Yeah, that line, he's just like offering the kid coffee or Red Bull, and then he's like, what, like, he's under 13, I would assume. Like, he's a pretty young kid.
I think he's like 10.
Yeah, granted, I was drinking coffee at that age, but that was my thing. And yeah, and that's like, you know, I have my personal stake in this movie of like, oh, my parents were both smokers, and like when my mom quit smoking was like, oh, one of my favorite fucking days ever. And, you know, trying to get my dad there, but not there yet. But then, yeah, watching this movie where you're sympathizing with these people who are working in the death industry, basically.
Yeah, because I just love the term that the movie goes for. Well, you know, everyone's got a mortgage to pay. And then I just love that pause, and Aaron Eckhart's narration just says, AKA the yuppie Nuremberg defense.
Yeah.
Which,
and like
just such
the way it
perfect writing.
Yeah, and the way it kind of comes back to bite him in the ass when Katie Holmes writes the scathing article and she's like, "Hey, did it for my mortgage."
Exactly. Just a side note, has nothing to do with the quality of the movie. Katie Holmes looks hot in this movie. I just want to throw that out.
Oh, she is a beautiful woman.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
It's a shame she got wrapped up with Scientology the way she did.
Oh yeah, that guy.
You know, glad she got out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And oh my gosh,
Yeah.
what else do you want to talk about? Because I could go on to say like I said, this movie came out in 2006, but I feel like it has not aged a day because of that.
No, I was
Yeah,
literally about to say the same thing. Oh, I didn't even notice Robert Duvall is the captain. I didn't even notice that was him. Like, yeah, seriously, this
he's
cast is just
oh my
huge.
oh my god.
Like, I expected the movie to be funny, but it was way funnier than I thought it was going to be. And just like kind of watching the J.K. Simmons and Aaron Eckhart characters kind of like go at each other a little bit, like when he's like, "Oh, I got to ride on the private plane and stuff," and "Oh, he really liked your idea," even because the dude was clearly trying to steal his mojo.
Right, exactly. Which is just a J.K. Simmons character thing to do at this point.
Yeah. Oh, he is just endlessly quotable. Like I think
the the best part is in that meeting where he said, "Our stocks are falling like a shit from heaven."
yeah. Oh, that meeting scene is great. But and like, is this the movie that like launched Aaron Eckhart? Like, because this was what you say, like 2006, and then Dark Knight, obviously 2008, which I think is where most people probably. Oh man, he's been going since like '93. Okay, so I guess I just didn't notice him in a bunch of stuff.
I would say that this was where I noticed him, and I would go so far as to say that this is where Aaron Eckhart got his breakthrough. Because who is he if not a more dickish Harvey Dent in this movie?
Oh yeah, he's just like the most charming, but just the worst person. And yeah, like you can look at that scene in Dark Knight with where Harvey Dent, where they're having dinner, and like look at him in this movie, and they do feel kind of cut from the same cloth. Just one has way less morals than the other.
Absolutely. And oh my gosh. Okay, can we talk about that scene where I mentioned Sam Elliott and just that whole scene? Because the Saito
that was actually what I was just thinking about.
Yeah. Oh well, perfect. So, well, first I want to start by asking: has Sam Elliott really done serious roles like that? Well, prior to 2006, because I know he was in A Star Is Born, where he was super serious. But was he really known for serious roles, or was he known for more comedic roles, like in The Big Lebowski?
I mean, he was in Tombstone, which was, a very big movie, which was a serious movie.
Right.
I mean, dude's had a long career, so I would assume, a lot of westerns. I'm looking at his first movie was in 1967. So
holy, okay,
yeah. I mean, dude's been around.
Yeah. So in this movie, he plays the Marlboro Man, who is he died? Is he already died? Yeah, he's already diagnosed with lung cancer.
Yeah, like he's pretty much on his way out, is how they're kind of wording it. And then he even has the jokes like, "I didn't even smoke Marlboros, I smoked Cools."
Yeah. Which is and then what Naylor tries to do, because this up until this point we've kind of seen Naylor get to handle softballs, like the cancer kid on the TV, our little room full of children, and his own son,
which was
at an amusement
hilarious.
park.
I love the thing.
Oh my gosh! Because
he's talking to the students, he's like, "Well, like you don't just believe everybody; you got to find out for yourself." And the teacher's just like, "Okay, like we're done."
Okay, and that is just so perfect because oh my gosh, I know I'm about to critically analyze a scene where Aaron Eckhart talks down to a little girl, but the part where she says, my mommy says cigarettes kill, and he just does the standard attack the credibility thing where he's like, is your mom a doctor? Any kind of scientific research of any kind? Oh, she doesn't seem like a reliable source now, does she?
Yeah. Like, he's just always on. Like, he's always in the job, even if it's talking to a little kid.
Yes, exactly. And going back to how this is just this is hard mode for him, because he's trying to convince someone who is literally dying from cigarettes to basically accept hush money.
Yeah. But there is, like, it's not hush money, it's a gift. But then he, like, pretty much just walks him into, here's what you're gonna do. And not only that, he talks him into giving the money away.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly, because it's slimy, but at the same time, I am in awe.
Yeah, because, like, he just literally has everybody in the palm of his hand in any given scene. And even after the whole thing where they try to kill him, and then it's like, oh, well, we're not going to have you on TV, and blah, blah, blah. But then he, like, puts out a statement and just, like, buries everybody in the most positive kind of way.
Oh my god, yes, that's just, oh my gosh, that's, an amazing part of his character, especially the part where he finally gets back at Katie Holmes' character, where he says, yeah, I know now not to have sexual relations with a journalist. However, my colleagues whose only sin was knowing me should not have to suffer for this. And because I have dignity, I will not name this certain brunette journalist at the Washington Post.
Yeah, he basically calls her, like, a whore without calling her one, and then just, like, makes her look like the bad guy. Like, even though she's just the one telling the truth about this guy peddling death.
God, this guy is like, I think Aaron Eckhart in general, I have it written down here, is like, he's kind of like Dennis Leary's understudy, isn't he? Or at least he could definitely pass for a Dennis Leary body double. Just
for sure. Like, they could play brothers in a movie or something.
Speaking of Dennis Leary, you remember that song he did, I'm an Asshole?
Oh yeah, it's about this character.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So
one thing I will say, do they ever show Aaron Eckhart smoking in the movie? Because there is the moment at the end where, like, you can't ever smoke again, and they're acting like it's kind of a big deal for him. But, like, I don't recall if they ever show him smoking.
We actually do. There's that one part where he pulls out an empty cigarette carton from his shirt, but I think that's it.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a thing where, like, oh, the actor doesn't smoke and didn't want to, like, fake it or whatever, so they just, they assume that the guy working for cigarettes smokes, but they don't actually, like, show it.
Yeah, which is really ironic.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, almost as ironic as the. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I love that their way of trying to kill him is just putting all the nicotine patches on him.
Yeah, and that's actually going to build into what I was going to say. And it's more ironic than the fact that smoking cigarettes actually saved his life.
Yeah, which is like, I think he makes a joke of like, oh, can I get a quote on you on that?
Yes, he does. He does. Oh my god! Yeah, but we've spent. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that was like the one moment in the movie where I was like, oh, did they mention his smoking? Because they say that, and then like I said, I didn't recall him seeing. I was like, oh, so that was like maybe one moment that came off a little weird. Was like, okay, well, I guess I can just assume that he does smoke. But yeah, I wish there was like they showed it more with his actual character. If I had to have like any criticism towards the movie.
Yeah. And oh my god, we spent all this time talking about Aaron Eckhart's character, but let's talk about how strong of an antagonist, because I don't really want to call him a villain, because everyone's a villain in this movie, but how good of an antagonist is William Schmidt's character?
Oh, he's great. And like you said, that everyone is a villain, even though he is the quote unquote good guy senator, he's still like not great because he's literally, there's moments in this movie where he's just doing or saying stuff because he knows it'll get him votes. And like that's his agenda.
Yeah, exactly. He's equally as slimy as Aaron Eckhart, as Nick Taylor here, but the only difference is that he thinks he's on the right side, whereas Nick Taylor has no delusions of who he is. He knows he's
Yeah.
a death peddler. William H. Macy's character, though, he is the epitome of just like one of those politicians who, like I said, just believe they're on the good side, but really they're no different from any other scumbag in Washington. And like I said, the scene where that really gets driven home is the scene where he confronts his aide over the cancer boy fiasco.
Yeah. And he's like, if you're gonna get a cancer boy, find one who can like is in a wheelchair or can't talk. Like they're talking about a kid who's dying as a prop.
Exactly. And it gets even worse throughout the whole movie where he finds out that Naylor survived and he's just like, yeah, that's the problem. He survived.
Yeah.
You already lived.
Yeah, it's like, oh, if he would have died, it would have made it a lot better for us.
but now he looks like a victim. That's just like,
Yeah.
oh, you are a fucking mob hitman.
Yeah, like I love William H. Macy. He is kind of perfect in this role of like the good guy who's also bad. And yeah, like the scene towards the end when they're in the congressional hearing and the way Nick is able to turn it against him, like, hey, you're going to talk about this, well, let's talk about your state, you know, and it just like how was it? It's like cholesterol or whatever they're talking about. It's like, oh, more people die from cholesterol in your state, so why aren't we banning cholesterol?
Why aren't we banning cheese? And then he says the quote that was in all of the trailers: "The state of Virginia will not apologize for its cheese."
It's such a good line. And like, man, as somebody who watched an abnormal amount of congressional hearings over the last 4 years for, you know, no particular reason.
Yeah.
It was so accurate. Like it was so accurate to how that stuff goes down. Of like, man, you gotta be on your shit. Even if you think you're on the right side, somebody can spin that against you if you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And then at the very end, what's he doing? He's censoring cigarettes in classic movies.
Yeah, they're like removing that stuff, which honestly is a little relevant today. It reminded me of when everybody's like, "Oh, should we have these digital actors that aren't like alive anymore?" It's kind of like a similar thing of like, "Oh, why would you alter this movie or something like that?"
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
and
like you said, the movie hasn't aged a day.
Absolutely not, because this is a little sidebar. You know what that reminded me of? I don't know if you're familiar with the company or for company 4Kids.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so 4Kids was a company that dubbed Japanese anime into English, and
okay,
yeah. So and some of the things that they were notorious for doing was if they ever saw a scene where a character was smoking, they would digitally alter it to turn it into like a lollipop or something. So,
seriously?
I am dead serious. I could next time when we get off here, I'll actually link you to some videos in the Discord about just showing just how far they were willing to go just to censor some of this stuff. But
that's crazy.
I just thought it was hilarious because that's exactly what that reminded me of. And
and I could totally see somebody trying to do something like that too.
Yeah. Because I could see someone doing anything in this movie, even the part where he's going to pitch a movie to use a cigarette, where for who's it? Brad Pitt and Catherine Zeta-Jones.
In some movie like Sectors, they're gonna put out cigarettes called Sector Sixes to like go along with the title of the movie. Yeah, that whole scene where Rob Lowe is just pitching the scene of like, oh, they just got done like space fucking and they're blowing smoke rings around her naked body. Like,
It's like,
Rob Lowe's always great, but he's knocking it out of the park in this movie.
he is on in this movie, especially the part where he's saying, "Oh, hey, Brad Pitt doesn't smoke, so he's gonna want 25 million. 25 million? You'll get 25 million if you can blow a smoke ring."
Yeah. There's like, oh, can he even blow smoke rings? Like, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Oh man, this movie, man. I know I said that we should record for like an hour, but another thing about this movie is that it's very short.
Yeah, it really cruises through its runtime. I think it's only like an hour 40, something like that. Like it's not super long.
Not even that. Not even that. It's like 97 minutes.
Oh yeah. And I'm surprised.
But,
like, so looking at the Wikipedia, it's like a 10 million budget, and it only made like 39 million. Like, I'm surprised this did not do better. Granted, that's still really good, but like for the cast that's in this thing, it deserves more.
yeah, absolutely. And honestly, now that I'm thinking back on it, there really wasn't that many sets or really impressive shots in this thing. So that's what most of the budget probably went towards the actor salaries, to be honest.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, because it's mostly just like real locations. Like they're in some building, they're at a carnival, blah blah blah. Hotel rooms, like a lot of hotel rooms.
Yeah, which is what you want for a movie like this, because you want it to feel real and grounded, which actually, and it succeeds in spades. Because
yeah,
I don't want to keep going back to the chocolate versus vanilla conversation, but that is the best part of the movie. Because
I mean it's kind of like the antithesis of his character and like what he's doing with his kid. Like I really feel for his kid in this movie of like, oh, you're just watching this man corrupt a small child.
Pretty much. There is that one scene where he does throw his techniques back in his face, where he's just like, "Are you just gonna give up?"
Yeah, like towards the end when he's like, "Well, everybody kind of hates me right now." He's like, "Well, isn't it your job for everyone to hate you?"
Job. Exactly. Oh man, and then oh my god,
yeah. All of a sudden, when it's affecting him on a personal level, it's like, oh, now he cares.
Yeah, and that's what I love about this movie too. Is that it is such a spot on satire because it has no delusions about what its main character is, who its main character is, and it has no delusions about what it is.
Yeah, like he literally calls his group of friends the Merchants of Death, and then they love it when they find out.
Exactly.
I also love the scene where David Koechner's basically selling guns to his son. He's just like, yeah, it's cool, right? And he's like, oh, but like, you know, responsibly. He's like, oh, you'd be a great dad. He's like, thank you.
Oh man. But yeah, going back to the kind of deep dive chocolate versus vanilla thing, because I want to because Jesus Christ, I want to go into detail about that scene. So
okay, I mean that makes sense.
The conversation starts out
that's like exactly the type of thing he would be doing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So the way the conversation starts is that he and his son are in the amusement park. They both have ice cream, and his son poses the question, "Well, you don't have a law degree. You don't have any sort of special training. So does that mean can anyone just do what you do?" Which I've had that question lobbed at me a few times, but story for another day. But Aaron Eckhart answers, "Well, no, because hang on, let me give you an example." So then he says, "What convinced me that vanilla is better than chocolate?" And they have their little spiel, and sure enough, sorry, my phone is talking to me.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay, stop that, Bixby. No one knows who you are.
Yeah, no, it's a great scene. Like the whole point of it is like, yeah, you know, I'm not convincing you because you don't matter. Like even like when you're watching the congressional hearing, it's the people who are watching that are the real like jury, and for lack of a better word.
Exactly, and that's you also see this on trolley replies on Twitter. It's like they don't care about changing your mind. They care about the people reading it, which is why I know a lot of people say, "Oh, don't feed the trolls, don't do this," because but no, you have to at least respond to them because for the people reading it, because there are going to be people who are reading what the trolls say, and the minute they see that they're going unchallenged, will go along with what they say.
Yeah, I
And
mean, there's always going to be the people
Yeah.
that are on the side no matter what. But you even if you can convince one person.
exactly, absolutely. And my God, the way that conversation goes is he just says, "So you only like vanilla?" "Yes, it's the best." It was like, "Well, I believe in freedom of choice, and vanilla alone just doesn't do it for me. So I believe in the free choice to choose chocolate if I want to." And then his son understandably replies, "That's not what we were arguing about." It's like, "I don't have to prove
Yeah.
myself right. I have to prove you wrong." It's like, "But you didn't
Yeah, he's
convince
like,
me."
"But you didn't convince me." Yeah.
And that's
He's like, "I
exactly
don't
what,
have to."
and that is just a textbook rhetorical device where you just make it about something else completely. Like he took ice cream flavors and made it about freedom of choice.
Yeah. And you see his son kind of
So
learn from him later with his mother, and he's like, "Oh, we weren't having an argument; we were having a debate."
right, right, exactly. And because he calls her out by just saying, "It's okay if you want to use me to get back at Dad. I understand." Like, you
Yeah,
little
just
shit, I
like
love you.
totally insulting her.
So yeah, and now to all the listeners on this, go home and try this on your friends and family.
Yeah, what is it's
Sure.
pretty much encouraging you to do. Yeah, I
Oh
mean,
man.
honestly, he could just be playing a lawyer in this movie because that's essentially what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. Advocacy. Zealous advocacy.
Yeah. And like you're kind of waiting for that moral moment of the movie and it kind of just never happens. Like he never feels bad about what he does. Like even by the end of it,
Yeah, feels
like his life is changed for sure, but you know, then he just kind of like walks away from the job and just like, nope, that was a portion of my life and now I'm on to the next thing and doing the same thing for other industries.
exactly. He just goes on to teaching us, just spreading his craft. He teaches his
Yeah.
craft is how he ends up. Yeah. Yeah.
And just like lying through his teeth, like just repeat after me. There's no evidence or investigation that correlates this data to this solution or whatever. And they're just like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Just focus on lack of proof. Like, oh yeah, prove it. Prove it.
Yeah.
Prove it. Yeah.
And then like the manipulation they do, like even in the opening segment is like, oh, you know, you're saying cigarettes are bad and this kid got cancer. It's like, oh well, we're putting all this money towards teaching kids not to smoke.
Exactly. And even another line that was in all the trailers. Hey, it's the medical industry that wants him to die because they want sick
Oh,
people
that was
to
amazing.
pay their bills, and we want to keep him alive and soaking. And yes, that was
Yeah.
amazing. Because
Wouldn't it make more sense if he was alive to buy more cigarettes? No, you guys want him dead. Like the way he just flips it on them is it's sociopathic. It's insane.
yeah.
It's just such a well-written movie. Like you could do an hour easily on just talking about the dialogue in the movie.
Oh my god, yeah. But would require another watch and another deep dive. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which
But man,
this is something that's going to be added into my rotation for sure. Like it was a movie I always kind of assumed I would like, but I really came out of it like loving it.
mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And like I said, I like it even more now than when I first saw it. Because
Yeah, and
even if you don't understand like the satire or everything, if you somehow don't understand the satire, there are still good surface level jokes here. Like
yeah.
that scene where he's talking with Rob Lowe, like, "Do you know what time it is in Japan?" "No."
Yeah.
It's morning in Japan. It's the future.
Yeah. And he's like, when do you sleep? And he's just like, Sunday.
So,
Like, that's my day. Rob Lowe. Did you
So
ever
I guess
watch Californication? The David
not
Duchovny show?
not Californication, but I did see Parks and Rec.
Okay, Californication, he comes in around season 4 and
Mhm.
plays an actor that is like gonna play David Duchovny's character in a movie. And he shows up every
Lovely.
season after that. In just the first episode where he comes in, this dude should have won an Emmy for his guest role on that show. He was such a good character. I think his character's name's like Eddie Nero or something. He's just this like really method, like bizarre actor guy. And he's incredible. Like he enters every episode by just tackling David Duchovny from like out of nowhere. Like every time he shows up, he's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would, it's one of my favorite TV shows, but I'd recommend it based on just his guest appearances alone.
All right, absolutely. Okay, yeah, I'll add that to my ever-growing list.
Yeah. Oh, I got a big one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I feel like we're kind of near the end here.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of. I will say the one thing that maybe dates this movie is Dennis Miller being in the movie. Like, I'm not sure anybody really pays attention to him anymore.
Right. Oh my god, yeah, and yeah, I think the meeting room scene where he's naming like famous actors.
Yeah, I'm also
like
trying to
you'd have
look
to
up
update that.
who. I'm trying to find out who played the guy that like kidnaps him. Because he's kind of shrouded in darkness all the time. I'm not even sure if it was like a specific actor.
Probably not. Did you notice he had a Hitler mustache?
I did not. I will admit I was watching this on my phone. So unfortunately that was the way I had to, because I was kind of watching it while I was working. So like I had to have, like, I've been setting up my phone and like watching, listening to stuff. I did finish it at home because I watched like the first like half of it while I was working on Friday. But yeah, no, I didn't notice that. And looking at the cast list, I'm not seeing, like, on just the Wikipedia version, I'm not seeing anybody listed as like that character. Grant, I think that's like the only scene. So I was just wondering if it was a character that was in the movie previously and then he, you know, tries to kill him, or if it was just some dude they just kind of threw in there for that moment.
Definitely some dude they just threw in, because like I said, I didn't remember a dude with a Hitler mustache.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Oh, a kidnapper. Here we go. Jeff Witzk. Yeah, I don't recognize this dude, because I thought it was. Oh, he's done every other Jason Reitman movie though. I thought it was an actor who I had seen before, who I can't picture his. I can't think of his name right now, but he's just one of those guys that's in a bunch of stuff, but it's not him. So, yeah, I love it. He's like trying to, like, when they do kidnap him, and he's trying to just debate with his kidnappers. Like, he doesn't even seem that scared.
Right? He's like, stop for $5 million and just go from there.
Yeah. And like, hey, you're not really mad at me, you're mad at the industry. Like, what are you doing?
But yeah.
Yeah,
He met his one weakness is someone who can't be influenced.
Yeah. And yeah, that's kind of really the only adversity you kind of get. Well, I guess Katie Holmes' article as well. But like, yeah, it's just, you're kind of just watching him just like crush every situation he gets in. Like, he's just such a smart, morally corrupt person.
Right. The kids these days would call him a problematic fave.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And in a way, and well, I just kind of want to wrap up here, but my closing thoughts on this would be that in a way, this movie is a spitball in the eye of like the modern day purity test that a lot of people on social media seems to put their quote unquote heroes through, because I have seen so many artists on Twitter get torn to shreds in threads just for the most mundane shit, just because they maybe drew something they didn't like not even something. I mean, obviously, I'm saying that there are some things that are just office, but this is just stuff like shipping two characters, fan art of two characters that a lot of people just think shouldn't be together, like shit like that.
Yeah,
and I'm just like,
and
this is I mean, shit, you look at the wrestling industry, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, absolutely. There's plenty of that going around.
Yeah.
Like I can sit here. I do not watch WWE. I do not interact with WWE at all.
Me either.
And it's a lot of it
Me
because
either.
of their business practices and the way they treat their talent. But
Mhm.
like it's like weird to make that argument because like it's like, hey, you still want to support the actual people, and how do you justify that? And like honestly, even like, hey, American Beauty is one of my favorite movies, but it's got a really
Oh God.
problematic star right now. And like
Oh
that's a thing that if I still want to enjoy that movie, I gotta try to figure that out in my head.
He has someone who just LA Confidential. I feel you because he's in
Oh
that movie
god,
too.
exactly. I know he's in so many of my favorites. Seven, like it's just one of those things where I'm like, the way I do it, I'm like, look, I own this movie already. I'm not giving them any more money. It's something I already have, and I just have to realize when I watch that he's a terrible person. And
Right, and
it's all
exactly,
about how we argue our own moralities.
and like I said, this is a take on the satire of the so-called purity test because here's a merchant of death somehow managing to be a good influence on his son.
Yeah, and how he struggles with that. And yeah, again, I would recommend that movie. I Care a Lot. Like it kind of deals with those same issues. It's not a satire though, so I don't think it handles it as well as this does. But like, hey, this is a story where our main character is maybe one of the most horrible people you've ever met.
Right. And like I
And
said, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and like for someone like you, it's a learn how to argument tool.
Oh boy, because a
Like
jury of
you
your
could probably
peers.
show that chocolate and vanilla scene like in like school.
Yes, no exaggeration. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, as we're wrapping up, any final thoughts on Thank You for Smoking?
Well, yeah. Actually, it's a deeply underrated movie. It's hilarious. It's biting. It's timeless. It is hilarious, and it is so underrated. It's like, seriously, it's available for rent on Amazon right now. Just go. I think it's only like $5 to rent it. It's only 97 minutes, and you don't feel that at all because, like I said, this podcast episode is going to be a little on the shorter side because the movie is on the shorter side. But look how much we still managed to talk about it.
Yeah, and like it's not a movie. Action scenes are you're literally just like kind of parsing people's dialogue and like just talking about what it all means. Like I would be stressed to see someone do a longer podcast episode about it. But like it's
Yeah.
even if you just watch it and you don't really care about what it's saying, it's just a funny movie on its own. But yeah, I think the one of the strongest things to say about it is what you said before. This movie in 2021 works maybe even better than it did in 2006 or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
All
man,
right.
I'm so glad I was forced to watch this movie. It was like I said, it's going on my list. I will be picking up a Blu-ray the chance I get. It's a great movie, and I'm kind of bummed I waited this long to watch it.
Hey, better late than never, man.
Yeah. So yeah, before we hop out of here, do you got some stuff you want to promote? I know you got a podcast yourself.
Yes, I do. I am the host of the Busted Lives podcast. It's just me, my co-host Black Belt, who is also my oldest cousin. We just talk about the things that interest us. I recently did a minisode about what I call the quote-unquote difficulty in video games and how a lot of them fail to make their harder difficulties compelling. Our last full-length episode, we managed to get Tim Luz from the Cinema Inspection podcast on to talk about Godzilla versus Kong.
Oh,
And
nice. I still haven't watched that.
oh yeah, oh god, it's so good. But and as for future episodes, unfortunately, since I am very terrible at time management and scheduling, our next episode will be released in June, because that's just no episode for May. It will be about the Tokusatsu series Kamen Rider Build. It is my first foray into that genre of television, and we'll have a returning guest, Grant, from the Super Sentai podcast on there to talk about it, because of course that's his bread and butter. And you know what? The second episode that we're gonna release that month in June is going to be the next part of our MCU recap. So yeah, we're going to be double dipping this month to make up for a lack of an episode in May. So we're available wherever you get your podcast. The name of the podcast is Busted Limes like the fruit. So what are you waiting for? Come to Lime with us.
Yeah, for sure. Check it out. I'm gonna do it. MCU. Quick question: what's your favorite MCU movie?
Ragnarok.
Oh, can't go wrong.
Exactly. Keep in mind, there is a difference between favorite and best.
Yes, for sure. I will always make that distinction. I think still Winter Soldier for me. Just always curious what everybody's favorite is.
Let me put it to you this way. The way that we're doing the MCU recap is that we're sorting each movie into tiers ranging from platinum to bronze. Winter Soldier was the reason we created a platinum tier.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yep.
All right, man. But thanks for being here and doing this with me. I had a lot of fun. It's nice to meet you, and definitely going to be bringing you back on. I know you mentioned you got some other movie ideas, so we'll definitely have you on in the future.
Yeah, because those are two movies that I've been wanting to rewatch for the longest time, but I'll save that for another day.
Yeah, I'm curious about that Brosnan one, so that we might have to do that one.
Mm-hmm.
But all right. So since I haven't even launched the show yet, I'm still unsure how to end every episode. So I'm just gonna end it with saying, everybody, thanks for watching and thank you for being here.
Oh yeah, don't fret about that. Like, to come up with a unique ending for Busted Lives until episode 15.
Yeah. I did my entire other podcast that is now ending and never really had like a fluid way to end an episode. So
yeah, you'll get it.
Yeah, it is what it is. But I find a simple thank you is enough, because I appreciate everybody being here and checking it out.
All right, yeah, and it was good for me to be on here as well. So thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. And yeah, we'll definitely get you on again.
Awesome.
All right, so thank you, everyone, and we'll be talking later.
Peace. And stop.